mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. And the news, this is a man that had the same coach. I'm the second guy that's had this guy as a coach of our favorite team. Mike McCarthy is staying in Dallas. Austin is the man joined by me and is used to this. Did you ever have this moment in Green Bay?
No, because we hired Matt LaFleur. I don't think we ever had a moment where I was like, we have to fire this guy, and it didn't necessarily happen immediately.
Well, I mean, with McCarthy. Was it? Because I remember there were times at the end.
Yeah, but again, I felt like I knew when the end was near.
Okay. And with this, so I don't... Is it the right choice is the title of our video. I'm going to say no because of the coaching market. But I understand the argument for McCarthy because to me, he's a guy that got 3 straight 10-win seasons, which hadn't been done a lot with the Cowboys. To me, he's a little bit more consistent than Garrett. Garrett had ups and downs, and Garrett, to me, really depended on his stars. Like a year ago, the Cowboys lost Dak. I thought that was pretty much over, but the team was able to rally around and get a few wins and stay afloat. However, with McCarthy, though, I think he's a step from Garrett, but now with this, I don't feel he's a guy that can... He doesn't prepare him for the playoffs. I think I can name...
I can't see an argument for him being out of the same tier as Jason Garrett. Besides...
No, you could... Yeah, they could be in the same tier.
I don't... Because what does he add? You can say consistency, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I would say it doesn't matter because you're not winning playoff games. If you're not getting out of the divisional round, does it matter? If both of them can't get out of the divisional round, does it matter if he is more consistent? No, because the goal is not to make the playoffs every year. The goal is to win a Super Bowl.
Yes. My argument would be to have a chance of winning the Super Bowl, you got to keep making the playoffs, which he's done. But the playoff performance has been good, and this have not been good. They've been terrible. The Packers game has been terrible.
It seems like Mike McCarthy's more concerned with winning regular season games than he is playoff games. Or he's more concerned about getting them into the playoffs than preparing them for the playoffs. I don't know how to phrase it.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. And he does have a Super Bowl ring, but you look at his QB, Aaron Rodgers, generational Hall of Fame. It's just Dak's not that guy. You could argue that I think the coaching staff, there's going to have to be more around Dak for help him to win, or it's just going to be motivation. So my thing is, it's the right choice for Jerry, in my opinion, because what does this do? Like you said, he'll be more concerned about making the playoffs. If the Cowboys are in the playoffs, that's great for Jerry because he gets money from that. Don't like him as the owner. To me, you got to take a risk. And a risk would be to fire McCarthy. I don't really care because this market is incredible too. If I wouldn't be a huge fan of Belichick, but I would prefer him over McCarthy because, as I said before in the other video, it was one of the McCourty brothers said Belichick wouldn't let his team show up like that because that start is inexcusable. I also go to the Niners game from a few years ago, the wild card game, when to me they were pretty close, the Cowboys and Niners. The Niners just pulled away, and there was a slow start. Dak was off for that game, And then the Bucks game, they played well, but then you got to the division round and they couldn't do it. Now, Vrabel to me would be my guy, and the thing with Vrabel is he hasn't had a great. Dak's better than Brian Tannehill, so I think Vrabel would have been great. Also, Vrabel to me knows the small things. I don't believe McCarthy knows the small things. You go a few years ago. Do you remember that Arizona Cardinals game?
Are you
Do
talking
you
about
remember
with
that?
the Packers?
No, Cardinals game with Cowboys.
Oh, you're talking
Where
about this year?
no, I think it was the season before when the Cardinals had a fake punt, then ran out with a punt, and they got.
I think that was 2 years ago.
Was that 2 years ago? Yeah. And then McCarthy tried to do it against the Niners, and it did not work.
I think I remember the sequence you're referring to, and I
Like,
would
I
like to
think they
say
got 12 men. No, they got. Or sorry to interrupt. The Cowboys got a delay of game
yeah.
when they tried to do it.
I would like to say that now in his Cowboys tenure, which has been 4 years with the Cowboys for Mike McCarthy, he is 1-3 in the playoffs and is now in his career 11-11 in the playoffs. So even though he had a 4-0 year in 2010 when they won the Super Bowl, beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's only had 1 year with a positive win-loss ratio besides that year, which was in 2016 when they won 2 and then lost to the Falcons by over double their score. So, and let me go to Jason Garrett just to kind of compare. Jason Garrett had more playoff wins. He also has about a 50% of the 40%. And you could really argue, though, that one of those losses, like you always bring up the Packers, Des caught it. So he at least has that to the benefit of his doubt. But while he wasn't as consistent, and yes, he missed the playoffs a fair amount of times when he probably should have made it, there was also some injuries were like season-ending injuries from major players. I don't think Cooper Rush leads the Cowboys to a playoff game. Maybe he does. We would never have known if that could have continued, or if it was just because the league hadn't seen him yet. But I definitely don't think that keeping Mike McCarthy is the right move. So I would have liked to see him move on.
It's a safe move. That's what it is. You're too scared to make a move. You're just going to stay comfortable. But to me, to win the Super Bowl, you got to get uncomfortable and make risky decisions. A risky decision is firing McCarthy. People are saying it's an emotional, but come on, like that's a terrible start. I know the score doesn't reflect it, but it was a blowout. Now, and you have the chance to go get Vrabel, who, in my opinion, is a fantastic coach. I don't know how he's there. I don't know how he's on the market. Just because I'm curious, how well do you think their defense was this season? I think they were good.
The Titans' defense is relatively good.
And they traded their safety Kevin Byard to the Eagles.
Yeah.
And they have Jeffrey Simmons, but this is not as stacked of as a defense as the Cowboys have. And I think that just shows the way Vrabel can get his players.
Yeah, they were an
how to
average
motivate.
defense. They were 16th
They were average.
punch against. So and that's with a lot of injuries that they had on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so that's my opinion of it. Just because you can keep doing it, they could also go young and go after Ben Johnson or someone else. It's just, I think you've seen what McCarthy can give you. It's getting to the playoffs, but not really performing well. And if you want a Super Bowl, you got to move on from that. So I'm upset about it. We'll see. I don't know what next season they'll be good, and then they'll just lose in the playoffs. And the thing is, just give Dak one more coach, because Dak's on his final year next year. I hope they don't extend him, but I've had debates. He's probably going to get extended. Just go, yeah.
We'll have to see what they do with Dak, but I would like to mention that back to back 12-5 seasons for the Cowboys, and they have one win to show for it.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
And some games they just start slow. And to me, the Packers game is the ultimate view of that. I go to the Niners wild card game. It just they didn't seem ready to come out of the gate. And you talk about the way they win at home. You gotta be prepared.
And something I'd like to mention, I know that Mike McCarthy was only calling plays for this playoff game, which obviously didn't go right. But he still has impact in the offensive room. In the fact that they played horrible against the Niners both times they lost in the other 2 years. Like, they only scored 17 in the wild card game, and then last year they only scored 12 when they lost in the divisional round. I just think as an offensive head coach, even if you're not calling plays, you should have more of an impact. Hey, that's obviously not working. We got to switch something up. And that impact just isn't being made.
Yeah, and I was never a fan of him play calling. I like Kellen more, even though he has his faults, because I think that was the main demise of why he left Green Bay was the play calling, and Rodgers didn't like it. So I'll see how his second year goes. There were some weird decisions as well. You go to that Lions game. Why is he throwing a deep pass? Just run the ball. He also has bad clock management. So to me, it's a safe move, and it gets what Jerry wants. Is the Cowboys are always going to be in the conversation about are they contending? The answer is no, because the coach doesn't have it anymore. He has that one Super Bowl ring. You mentioned his playoff record. Also, to me, I think the players too. I don't think there's a legit player that has that all do mentality. You can argue Micah, but no one else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll just go back to, I know we talked about it before, but the disagreements between CD and Dak during that first half, you could tell they were getting heated between each other, and that has to be a head coach mediation. Let's get this checked out. What's wrong? What are we seeing? Dak, what are you seeing? CD, what are you seeing? Okay, let's go. It just didn't seem like anything changed. And then right before the Darnell Savage pick six, CD and Dak they got a catch, if you remember, CD and Dak, and then I think the announcer's like, okay, they're starting to click, or something to that effect, and then a pick six. Because Dak at that point was just, I don't know if it's because CD was saying, hey, give me the ball no matter what, or what the play call was, but obviously he was just staring down CD. And what's crazy is that the Packers, especially because of how injured Christian Watson's been, don't have a CD level quarterback. But because of Matt LaFleur's offense, Jordan Love's looking all over the field. And Dak didn't have that option, at least on that play, unless he was making a horrible read. And I'm going to give him more of the benefit of the doubt that he's looking for more than one person on a pass play. But it just seems like the Green Bay offense has matured into something without Mike McCarthy, and the Dallas offense has almost regressed under his reign.
Yeah, and the thing with great offensive head coaches is, to me, Dak, in my opinion, is a guy you need to help get along. Even and all quarterbacks, you need to help them get into a rhythm. To me, they can't really get themselves out of bad rhythm because Dak started off bad. He wasn't getting into rhythm, and to me, that's where you have a coach. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We have this play. It's gonna work. You're gonna get clicking, and it may take a drive. And to me, that's where I go to Matt LaFleur. You mentioned Jordan Love. It seemed like the best coaches, I think, have a plan like their first 22 plays. That first drive seemed perfect for Matt LaFleur. He knew exactly what to do, and he got Jordan Love settled, and the Cowboys defense could not unsettle him due to lack of pressure or just Matt LaFleur calling a great game. To me, that's where the great offensive coach is, which I think Matt LaFleur is. He's part of that insane group of just, okay, this is what I need, Jordan. This is what I know Jordan Love needs. I need to get the run game going. Then I can use this all up. And he just outsmarted Dan Quinn. And Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore just haven't been able to outsmart a lot of teams in the playoffs.
we'll finish it off with this. What do you think happens with Dan Quinn?
I bet he comes back, and I'm not really sure if Dan Quinn has done great for the defense, but lately I think his weaknesses have been noticed. I think Brian Baldinger, I haven't been paying much attention to Cowboy stuff because I don't want to watch it. Mentioned like Marquise Bell was the linebacker, and he's like, why are y'all doing this? Because Marquise Bell is 6'3", and his weight is 205. So, and like I've said, the Cowboys can just get out muscled. They go fast, which is what Dan Quinn likes. Dan Quinn just seems stubborn to switch. This team's got to be ready. This team needs to stop the run, and I think Dan Quinn stays unless he takes the Seattle coaching job. But I'm not sure after that game if he gets a job.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all we got, and we'll see how I feel next season. I will be here to talk about it. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We try to get to them as much as we can. Also, hit the bell so you can be notified. We also Instagram and tweet out notifications of when our videos are posted. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.